Good evening, everyone. Yang Yan Zhao back again tonight. A special guest, a man whose box is long. His love of comics is even longer. And his appreciation of good Chinese food is deep, like his love for the art.
We were just talking about that.
Today we have John's Long Box.
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
I am doing.
It's always fun to talk to you.
Thank you. I am doing quite well. It's been a little while, a few months.
Well, you popped up on my channel a few times when I had open invites.
Every now and again. I
haven't been on your channel in a while. I don't think
we're on right when you started, or right before Heroic Tales 2 opened up. So
right.
It's
I think
been
so,
a little while.
I was doing the charm offensive. You know what I mean? You did the same thing when you had your campaign.
Yeah.
You got to go on everybody's channels. How do you feel about it? Do you like going on other people's channels and talking?
Talking about my products, or talking about what, or just in general?
Just anything in general. I'll go on anybody's like if you got a, I don't know, a hair salon channel, I'll go on and talk. You know what I mean? Like I just like talking, so just try to shut me up. I'll turn it to comic books, but I'll go on anybody's channel. And that got me in trouble with a few people because, like, oh, I don't like that guy. Why are you going on that guy's channel?
Yeah.
So first off, I got a business. I'm selling comic books. Second off, like, I don't care if you two have problems. I don't know this person. I'll go on anybody's channel.
Yeah. So, yep.
I started the drama already. How's that?
Yeah, well, there you go. So for me, I generally enjoy going on other people's channels as long as there's like some sort of format, I guess you'd say. I don't know, as long as there's a theme, like there's something to talk about. It's not just like two guys being like, so do you like M&Ms? No.
Yeah. Come on my channel, we'll talk about comic books. Come on my channel, you got a Kickstarter to promote. Come on my channel, we'll talk about role-playing games. Yeah, just come on my channel and whatever. And then we find out that I don't like sports and he likes sports, and then it's not. Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
I find the whole promotional tour thing exhausting. So I've been doing it. I just started at the beginning of the month, as I've got another Kickstarter for Empire of the Undying Sun, which everybody should check out. We're now having a 1E version as well as the 5E version. And it's a second chance for anyone who missed the 5E last time because I screwed it up. So yeah, it should be fun. But no,
the 5E is 4 E's better than the 1E.
That's right.
So there you go.
You get a lot more E's if you pick the 5E.
Yeah, you get 5 E's for the price of 1E, everybody. So
that's right.
Yeah, I backed your campaign. Can't wait. Looks fun.
Yes. Slight delay, but we're getting there.
I'm pretty forgiving when it comes to late campaigns. Ironically, because I made a big deal about other people's late campaigns, but there's a difference between a couple of months and years. Yeah. And then causing trouble while you're late. You're not causing trouble. You're a good boy.
I'm trying. But how about you? Like, when it gets to October, I'm going to be absolutely exhausted. Are you feeling that way, trying to hit everybody's channel, or does it sort of like pep you up?
Like I said, I like talking to people. I like, if I go on your channel, I was just on a guy's channel, Geeks something, on Saturday, and all he did was say hello, and I just took over the channel and just started talking. You know what I mean? Like, so sometimes I feel like I got to shut up, give the host a chance to talk, but I'll talk and talk and talk. The problem is I always forget to promote my stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I joke that I'm going to get a table at a convention someday and make 1 million friends, but no sales.
Yeah, I know how that goes. I personally have somewhat of an issue with like there'd be like 8 people on a show at a time, and it's like I have conflicting feelings, like, oh, should I jump in now or should I stay silent? And then you got to promote your thing, and it's like, here's 2 minutes for that thing you worked on for 5 years. Sum it up. Elevator pitch. It's like, oh,
I if there's I have like a kind of a rule of thumb: more than 4. If there's 4 boxes, that's okay. More than 4, I start to shut down.
yeah.
I don't want to say anything bad about anybody, but I was on Yellow Flash's channel on Saturday, and there was like 8 people. And trying to, you want to be polite, but you also don't want to just sit there, not saying anything either. And I made a joke, but somebody stepped over it. Do I repeat the joke? I think it's a funny joke. Now the timing's off, so the joke is gone. You know what I mean? So it's rough. I don't like being on panels. One-on-one, this is why I shine right here. I love this. I'll go on anybody's channel one-on-one. We'll talk all night long.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I prefer one-on-one myself too. Plus, when you're on those big panel shows and like, at least 3 other people have books, like, of course you want to be respectful of fellow authors and not like just monopolize everything. But at the same time, you're like trying to get out like the highlights of your book, and then maybe from previous shows somewhere else, like you've had criticisms or feedbacks that like you want to address to this new audience. And it's like, how can I plug it in? So it's kind of nice to just chill a little bit.
Or like you're on a channel and there's like 1,000 people watching. I'm one of 8.
Yeah.
And then the host is being gracious and goes like, okay, John, so what did you think of the new Alkalite TV show? And I'm like, I haven't watched Star Wars in years, Don. I got nothing to say about it. And like, okay. And they move on. You know what I mean? Like, I don't watch Star Wars. I don't know anything about the new Avatar, James Cameron's Avatars. I saw the first movie. You know what I mean? So sometimes you just get sprung all this stuff, and I'm like, not following that stuff.
So Heroenberg says, panels online are terrible. They're much better at Comic-Cons, although I'd still limit it to 4. We're hosting one at the PiskerCon. Oh, where's PiskerCon at?
Yeah, where is that? But I agree. The panels at Comic-Cons are usually better because there's one guy standing up with the mic, and he's the moderator.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? He's like, okay, Yang, this question is to you. And I know to be quiet. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, but when there's 12 people, there's no moderator, and
well,
you think of something quirky and funny to say, and comedy is timing, and then you say it, and 4 people start talking. Should I repeat this? That was a good joke that I'm, never going to get another opportunity, and now people are going to miss out on how witty and funny and charming I am. So so more than 4 people, it's rough. Like even when I'm the guy who's hosting, I don't like to have more than 4 people on my channel.
Yeah,
it's just
plus
rough.
There's something with online. Like I think as people, we have evolved over millions of years to have conversations. So if you and I are in the same room, there's a better sense of like me not talking over you and like when I should interject in. And there's like a more defined like, oh, I'm being rude because I'm talking over you all the time. Whereas like online, you're constantly stepping over other people, like in a format like this, or if you're playing games online as opposed to in person, I've noticed it's the same thing.
Oh, Pittsburgh. I should have realized that Pittsburgh was in Pittsburgh. Anywhere near you?
Yeah, actually, I'm just a couple hours away.
Yeah, I'm New York is a couple of hours away. I think 5 hours.
5 hours?
How long?
I don't know. I think you're longer. I could be wrong.
Pennsylvania goes on. It's a big rectangle, and it's at the other end.
Yeah. Well, if you end up going, let me know.
Yeah. I used up all my time breaking my full neck, so I don't have any time off until January when everything resets. So we'll see then.
So
you wanted to ask me something. I'm going back to your private message.
Yes. So we'll do a little setup. So yesterday was the birthday anniversary of one of the greatest horror writers in American history and perhaps the world, H.P. Lovecraft. And he's a man who has had, shall we say, a difficult few years with his reputation and this and
Right.
that. So it got me thinking, when, like 10, 15 years ago now, when Marvel and DC started jumping the shark and they wanted all their books to be for modern audiences, even though the audience that they picked doesn't seem to actually exist.
Yeah. Let's make modern audiences fine, but modern audiences that actually exist. Oh, I was going to show this later. I was just preparing it, but I didn't even plan it. But I showed this image yesterday on Lovecraft's birthday, and I specifically said the script that it's a Lovecraftian eldritch god type horror monster. So it's just one of those bizarre coincidences. Like, I literally put it on Twitter, and I didn't notice it was Lovecraft's birthday until I saw Sandy Peterson tweet. One of my favorite people on Twitter. Anybody watching this, follow Sandy Peterson. That guy personally, just from his tweets, has given me 7 or 8 story ideas. He is just an interesting, fun guy to talk. But anyway, this is the splash page for us. It's not such a secret project because I'm showing but I'm working with another creator. I got 12 pages in an annual for their comic book with a bunch of other creators, and it's going to be in comic book stores next year. So me, Renzo, and Oscar are working on this. It was really rough to submit a script to somebody else because I'm the guy that writes the scripts.
Mm-hmm.
And, I have an editor that picks them up and fixes my typos and stuff like that and tells me. But ultimately, I'm the guy that So it was really weird to submit a script. And then, okay, fine. This is the due date. I'm like, due date? Due date's when this is somebody else. So it was a lot of fun. And it turned out to be a lot better story than I sat down to write. But anyway.
Nice.
So this is all my characters. I knew we would talk about role-playing games because I'm going to bring it up right now. But my superhero world is based on my role-playing games of Villains Vigilantes. So this is a very special thing for me because these are all my friends' characters on the team for the first time ever in a comic book that's going to be in comic book stores. Oh. So when I told everybody, they were so excited. So, this is the layout. This is how Renzo does layouts. Mm-hmm. And then okay, then he does the inks and everything like that. But starting at the left, that's the Patriarch. That's the Patriarch, my character. Then that's Magnum. That's my friend Paul's character. That's Colonel Strong, my friend's Mike character. And then you see the Public Eye. Public Eye was my character that I role played as. So that when my friend Jimmy ran the game, I was the Public Eye, and it was a lot of fun to role play him. And then next name is the Metaphysician, who was originally my friend Jimmy's character. Then above him is King Fu, and then Mary Sue. So this is all my friends' characters, my characters. They're in the Metal League. That's the name of the team. And then in the middle there is the other character that you're never going to guess who it is anyway, because that's not what they normally look like. It's part of the story that things are changed. Fighting this eldritch lobster puss.
Yeah.
But there you go. So I just, when you said Lovecraft, I said I got to show this.
Yeah. Oh, let's see here. Herrenberg. Everything is called Lovecraftian these days. Cthulhu plushies even. His rep is mostly fine. Only a few French folks freaked out. Really. Yeah, it's funny. I would say that my campaign guide is Lovecraftian because I tend to have a lot of like cosmic horror themes where your players are insignificant to the machinations of these deities. But I hate to call it Lovecraftian because everything is Lovecraftian these days.
Right. And I always say to people, it's like name a story with tentacles.
Yeah.
There's two. Shoggoth has tentacles and Cthulhu has tentacles, but neither one of those tentacles do anything in the story. Yep. So the thing that makes things Lovecraftian is you never know what's going on. Like, my favorite thing about Lovecraft is a guy goes and buys a house or whatever, and then he opens up a drawer and he finds a diary, and in the diary is the psychiatrist telling the story about a patient. So we're 3 people away from the action. So we don't know, is he crazy? That's Lovecraftian, this doubt, this we don't know exactly what's going on. Not that freaking tentacles.
Yep.
So that's like that's right. If you're a newbie, I'll forgive you. Everybody's a newbie, but like if you're one of these people, I read one story and I'm going to start shouting, or I found out Lovecraft's cat's name and now I'm going to condemn him forever. You know, those people just drive me nuts. Like we're going to judge people on because Lovecraft was a racist. It's like, yeah, he hated white people. Have you read any of his stories? They're all inbred hillbillies.
Yeah.
Like 2 stories that said anything bad about black people, and 97,000 stories that talked about inbred hillbillies. Those that so knock it off, everybody.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go looking for stuff, I'm sure you'll find something in every author out there. But so getting back to where I was going with it.
Okay, yeah.
I was thinking about, so you had Lovecraft, you had Howard around the same time, Edgar Rice Burroughs, all of these classic stories. And then you even get into other Americana, I hate to say Little Women, but, sort of like that, of Mice and Men, God Help Me, Gatsby, which I detest. But
you know what's funny? I'm feeling vindicated because I hated that book and I read it, but I had to read it for college. Yeah. And, you talk about it, you discuss it, but ultimately I didn't like the book. And I wanted to. I was like, oh my God, I'm finally going to read The Great Gatsby. This is going to be awesome. And I'm like, I kind of don't like it. And I just kept my mouth shut. And now I'm finding all these people hate the book. Good. So, sometimes it's nice to see other people agree with you,
Yes. But we're like 100 years away from when a lot of those great books were being written, a lot of the pulps, and times have changed. But we had like a very specific selection of Americana and a certain set of values, which really helped to promote that kind of literature. Comics had its own, I would say, certainly in the Golden Age and early Silver Age. And once we got into the 80s, we still had that tradition, but then we started getting like Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen, and we just started blowing up everything that was valuable in comics. So how do we write comics today for kids who don't have that same connection to the traditions, but we still want to preserve those traditions?
That's really tough because first off, kids aren't like, for those of you who don't know me, I'm John from John's Longbox. I make my own comics, Longbox Comics, and you got to go to a crowdfunding site and get the comic, and it's $10 and then shipping. So kids ain't buying my comics. I know that. Like,
yeah,
I was talking with RJ from the Fourth Age, and we pretty much were talking about like kids aren't reading comics, and I said, well, let's just get rid of the idea that kids are reading our comics. If anything, best case scenario is an adult likes my comics and then they share it with their children. But a little kid's not going to fund my comic and looking up my comics and buying them. Maybe someday if I get them in comic book store. So, but I want my comics to be all ages. And when I said that to people, a lot of people got mad at me because all ages doesn't mean kids books.
Yeah,
kids books to me is an underpants.
Yes.
But like all ages, the example I always give is Peter Pan, Harry Potter, The Wizard of Oz, Star Wars. These are all ages. And a lot of these books had, if you read Harry Potter, really pay attention. The movies left out a lot of stuff, but there's a lot of dark, bad stuff that happens in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Students getting murdered. I hate to say it, but like sexual assaults, between the lines, things like that. There's a lot of, but it's at all ages. For kids can handle a lot, and you don't pander to kids. So I think just write a story, but keep like, did you see it in Star Wars? Then it's all ages. Keep in mind that Star Wars had a sexy chick in a bikini, and it also had a guy getting his arm ripped off by a lightsaber, and it had a guy getting strangled to death. Kids can handle it all. Kids like to be scared. Kids like horror. I just saw the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
It's
There was a little
dark.
bit of
Yeah.
goofiness, but it was pretty dark. There was a little bit of torture. There was, two adults, Casey Jones and what April O'Neil flirting, and giving her the massage. I thought that was a pretty sexy scene. It wasn't racy or anything like that, but it was, it was tastefully done, and they didn't pander to kids.
Yeah.
Nowadays, when you say all ages, they either dumb it down or they put like propaganda in it, and kids, believe it or not, kids could pick up bullshit a mile away, and they don't want it. Like, that's why anime is doing so good, because
for now.
Yeah, I'm holding out that the Japanese will resist this nonsense.
Doesn't look that way.
What got me? No, the thing that got me was the first series of Avatar, The Last Airbender. That was awesome. That was absolutely awesome. I didn't like the animation style. I never really liked the anime look or anything. So I just assumed it was for kids. And then I started watching it, and what really got me was Zuko, the character arc of this guy who was the borderline. Well, he was abused. His father burnt them. Yeah, I forgot about that. He was abused by his dad. He still wanted to live up to his dad. He wanted the respect of his family, and then, like, at the risk of spoilers, he just went through this great character arc and development, and kids got it. Kids understood it. You could tell. So don't underestimate kids. Star Wars, the very first Star Wars movies, it was scary, it was dark, it was violent, it was political intrigue, and I was in third grade and I loved it. I loved it. Empire Strikes Back, the Empire is crushing everybody. Darth Vader's strangling people. It's scary. Then the third movie, to me, is when the cracks of Star Wars really started to show up. They catered to kids, Ewoks, and
well, they were selling tons of kids' toys by that time. Like, it became really apparent, like, that was the big moneymaker with it. So I understand. I don't agree with some of those choices, but I understand. But the Ewoks weren't nearly as bad.
It's hard to say no to billions of dollars. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, make it like, there was a lot of stuff in comic books, even under the Comics Code Authority, that were suggestive, like the Judas contract, in the New Teen Titans. Do I need to go into the details of the Judas contract? That was 1982, 1981. And there was assassins, murders, betrayals, seduction, and the P word. If anybody wants to know what the P word is, hit me up on Twitter. I don't want to get your channel struck down.
Passion fruit.
But it was for kids. Passion. It was all about passion fruit, all about the passion fruit. And it was really disturbing. And kids understood it. Now, I always bring up the Hellfire Club by the X-Men. Do I really need to explain what was going on in the Hellfire Club? It was
Epstein's New York apartment.
Correct. Yeah. Sebastian Shaw was Jeffrey Epstein. White Queen was Ghislaine Maxwell. Is that her name? And it was bad. And they abused Jean Grey. And obviously, and then Jean Grey abused other people. And it was, I didn't quite get the extent of it as a kid, but I understood these were bad people doing bad things, and they didn't pay, and it was for kids. I was 12 years old when I bought those comics. You know what I mean? They Code Authority, and I read them as an adult, and I still get stuff out of it. It's still in a comic book. That's what I mean by all ages. Don't insult the kids' intelligence. Don't pander to kids. Give the kids complicated storylines. Give the kids well-written stories, and they'll come. They like anime. I'm not even joking when I say I got 50 nieces and nephews. I'm one of 7 kids, and all of them have 5 kids, and then those kids have kids. So, great nieces, whatever. I just call them nieces and nephews, whatever. They all read manga. I'm not even joking. They all, my 35-year-old niece reads manga, and her kids read manga because they like the stories. They like they like the beginning, the middle, the end that doesn't insult your intelligence. These people want to tell a compelling story without preaching to you. And that's what we need to do. We need to we got to get good characters, consistency in the characters. Don't insult the kids' intelligence. And when I say all ages, you can have sexiness. You can have violence. We're not. It's not kids comics. Kids comics is little Lulu. If people even know that Archie, Casper the Friendly Ghost. But these are adult.
Yeah, and I was gonna
all ages. You can have sophisticated. All the best, like Gremlins, they were throwing monsters in the microwave. Things blowing up. Clash of the Titans was PG-13. That was all ages, and there was nudity because it fit the Greek mythology story. It wasn't. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying put nudity in your comics, but I'm saying is you could push it. And I'm trying to think of all of the great, like, I don't know, there was E.T. had some dirty jokes in it, and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I sat through that as a kid. I loved it. And think about kids today sit through Close Encounter of the Third Kind. Half the movie is, am I getting divorced? What are you doing with this other woman? You know what I mean? It's yeah.
And that's an interesting question. I mean, it's one thing that comic book companies really understood that back in the day. So, for example, if we just want to take Marvel in the 80s, they had Power Pack.
Comics of all time, if you ask me,
they had Power Pack, which was aimed at a bit younger kids. Then they would sort of graduate onto New Mutants, and which is sort of like pre-teen, middle school. And then from there, you graduate onto X-Men, which was teen to older teen.
Right. And what they did then is they had great artists, John Bua, George Perez, Walt Simonson, and I'm trying to think of other artists that did Power Pack. But that wasn't as consistent as the other ones. And then they had Louise Simonson was a great writer, Marv Wolfman, Chris Claremont, and they took it seriously, and they had an editor that enforced guidelines, and they let one team stay on a comic for years and develop the characters and subplots. I mean, nowadays, how long do people last? Like
1 year at most.
1 year at most, and the writer will last a year, and the artist will only be like six months or so.
Yeah.
We need to do a few things to get. You don't like right now. There's probably the greatest hobby in the world. I'm making something up, but I don't know anything about this great hobby. So why would I wake up and then all of a sudden go to this secret great hobby store that I don't know about and then get involved in? That's the way comic books is now. Comic books is like a church for people already part of the religion, and it doesn't evangelize.
And there's a worse part to it is the most popular ones seem to be full of charlatans, meaning DC and Marvel, because it's like fake saccharine. I don't even want to say feel good stories because I don't feel good when I read them.
Right, yeah.
But it's supposed to be the most light of entertainment, which to an extent is not bad. But if you're a restaurant and you only have one type of food, that's great. But getting back to our Chinese example, you got to have a bunch of different dishes. You go to a Chinese restaurant, they got like 300 items on that menu.
Well, let's
and they're all delicious.
You go to the Chinese restaurant and they only have egg rolls and they're lousy.
Yeah, well,
that's what Marvel is right now. you know, the guy who made the egg rolls, he retired, and I don't want to make them as good as him. I want to make them the way I want to make. Yeah, but they're not that good. Racist.
You want to make them with, all tofu and not the good Chinese tofu, like the crappy American vegan tofu.
Put some MSG on that thing. I want to taste something. I want to stroke it. Yeah, but that's another thing is you have to be true to the character. I think it's pretty fair to say that we all know Peter Parker. We all know Steve Rogers. We all know Ben Grimm. If they act out of character, we're gonna react to that. You know, Peter Parker's not going to come home and like Aunt May's going to be like, "You want some soup?" And he's like, "Leave me alone," and slap her. You know what I mean? Like, so, but I'm not that that's ever happened. But I'm goofing. But like, it seems like the writers today, what they want to do is their ego. They want to. I call it lifting their leg. They want to put their scent all over these characters.
Yeah.
Rather than treating like you should write Fantastic Four the way, and I understand Roy Thomas wrote them a little different, you know, just because they're different. Sure. But you got to get the essence of the character and write those characters the way they are. Reed Richards was not ever a simpy, nerdy, socially awkward. He was the man. He was cool, and he laid down the law. And he could be arrogant, he could be bossy, but he was in charge. And in the midst of a fight, he didn't second guess himself. He didn't take no guff in the middle of a fight. You know, he told everybody, and then afterwards he was like, and everybody's like, "No, you were right." You know, it ended up working out, and so, you know, we'll show. But now it's just like, you know, Sue is making him look like a jerk, and you know, and now he can't talk to people because he's socially awkward. I mean, we forget in the '60s. I mean, yes, that was 60 years ago. Geez. Another time, but scientists were the coolest guys because, you know, we were putting a man on the moon. Scientists were helping us defeat the Cold War, you know. So in a very, very real way, these were warriors, scientists.
Yep.
They thought they were cool and badass, you know. So I mean, the Fantastic Four, we had a test pilot. How cool is that? And then we had a scientist. How cool is that? And an auto mechanic. That's cool. And then we had this woman because we got to throw a woman in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Someone's got to clean the place up.
I have no problems with them giving Sue a personality later because really she was just the invisible hostage for the first 25 issues or so. So that
yeah.
But they were all cool. And now Reed's got social anxiety and everybody's second guessing him. Why? Because all of these guys who write Marvel comics, they hate their family, they hate their father. It's all about found family, and you know.
Yep.
And then the editors are letting them do it. Like Tom Brevoort is like, you know, every day he just goes and puts another X towards retirement. Another X towards retirement.
Yep.
He put on Twitter, "This is my 35th year working, 35th year of having the pleasure of editing Marvel Comics." And I just said, "Oh, good. Tom, you have been the custodian over the decline of Marvel Comics for the past 35 years. And what does he say? Sorry, comics aren't as good as they were when you were 10 years old." And I'm just like, that's a self-own.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry we can't do better than Chris Claremont, John Byrne, Walt Simonson, Sal Buscema, John Buscema. We just can't. I'm sorry. I'm not that good. That's what he should have wrote. He should have said, "Oh man, we you know, we strive to be as," you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, you know, now I have a little sympathy in the sense that, you know, even if you go back through comics history, there were periods of highs when you just happen to have a bunch of fantastic people working at the same time. And then Frazetta leaves and this guy leaves and that guy leaves. And you have a little bit of down period and then you go up again. But this is like way off the cliff. But I'm wondering, so, you know, we have young people reading manga. Right. And when I say young people, I don't necessarily mean like 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds. I mean, up until teens, right? They're reading.
Is our age. You know,
yeah, exactly.
Books, you know, and when, I hate to say it, I'm close to 60. What's going to happen in another 10 years? You know, we're all going to stroke out and the comics are going to die. But like I was saying before, I didn't quite finish my thought. Like, comic books are in this esoteric church, you know, that nobody knows about. We got to get them in supermarkets. We got to get them in Walmart. Where do people go? You know, make it websites where you could get, you know, I know Webtoons or whatever, but like we got to make them accessible again. And impulse buy, they got to be cheaper. And I know I said like newsprint, but like Pete Samedi's able to do newsprint out of his house. You're going to tell me Marvel Comics can't do newsprint anymore? You got to make them cheaper. You got to make them cheaper. If you notice, I do a show every Sunday where I show an old comic, and every fourth page is an advertisement, and the advertisements are like BB guns, learn to do electronics at your house, let's go fishing, you know, the stuff that, you know, G.I. Joe action figures. Now it's all house ads. There's no outside advertisement, and that used to subsidize the comic. That's where Marvel made their money.
Yeah,
and then it was chump change for us. Just really, if Marvel could have, they just would have given them away to kids. But the newsstand had to get their cut. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Think about it. How much money did Marvel really make from the kids buying? They got all their money from advertisement. It was basically, so that they could pay for the, because newsstands weren't going to carry the comics if they didn't make any money. We got to figure out stuff like that. Movie theaters. Why did I just go see a Ninja Turtles movie and there was no Ninja Turtle comic books in the movie theater? Why did I just go see a Superman movie and there was no Superman comic books in the movie theater? Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that really befuddles me, because in Japan, most movie theaters, they have a little gift shop, and in some they're quite large. First of all, they'll have playbills for movies, number one. But number two, they'll sell merch. If you're watching, I don't know, One Piece or whatever animated movie, they will have books from that there. They'll have T-shirts from that there. I don't understand why these large companies are missing them out. Even think about Marvel with like the Captain America shield on a T-shirt thing. Why weren't they selling those right outside of Endgame? People would have eaten those up. But
because a couple of people told me they don't want to deal with that. I just went to there's an AMC theater that my wife and I go to all the time. It's our go-to theater.
Mm-hmm.
They're still selling Harry Potter toys.
Yeah,
they sell merchandise. They're selling this creepy head. I was like, what is that thing? I didn't want to look at it. It turned out it's from that movie Megan. That Android.
Oh, yeah.
Scariest thing. And there's like all these heads just staring at you on the shelf over there. There's Harry Potter Legos and toys. There was a couple of other movies like Lego Batman. So that they'll sell merch. Why? Don't tell me they don't want comic books. I look at this big AMC. It's 12 movie theaters. It's mostly empty.
Yeah.
You got the popcorn stand over here. You got the soda stand over here, and then they got these big cardboard cutouts for all the movies, which are cool. But they could have merch stands all over, like clothes, T-shirts. Granted, every T-shirt smell like popcorn butter. But don't wear the shirt that you buy at the movie theater, kids. Go home and wash them first, because they're gonna have that popcorn butter all over.
Yeah, and the stale cola smell. But no, I used to work at one when I was in college in the 90s, and I could tell you that at that time, one of those giant Coca-Colas cost the theater 1/20th of 1 cent. So 20 of those our cost would be 1 cent, and we were selling them, I think, for like $4.50 even at that time. And a bag of popcorn was maybe like 5 cents for one of those giant ones. Right. So most people don't understand. Most movie theaters do not make money on movies. So I don't understand why the theaters themselves aren't demanding all of these things. Or even if you let's say you had let's say you got a comic book shop, and I know such and such a movie is going to come out. I'm going to cut a deal with you. I say, hey, I will let you sell your comics in my movie theater. We'll split the money. Why wouldn't you do that? You sell your comics, and you buy a
comic book guy. It's like they would have to be bagged and boarded, because they're going to get returned all covered. What I mean? Any comics that weren't sold are going to come back with butter grease all over them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like, they got to be bagged and boarded. You got to do that. But I was thinking, I'm the comic book store owner. I would call up the movie theater and be like, how much for 30 tickets? For Fantastic Four opening night, and then like have some sort of deal with guys, we're gonna buy the Fantastic Four, or we're gonna raffle off tickets, or we're all going to go to the movie, and we'll get and then we'll come back and get the things like that. Like, because I don't know, these people these executives that own the movie theaters, they're not thinking in terms of comic book. But why aren't the comic book stores thinking in terms of the movie theaters?
Exactly,
because they're the ones that are dying. Movie theaters, I think, will chug along
Mm,
People like going to the movies. I still like going. Unfortunately, there's just not a lot of movies that I want to see.
yeah, I mean, I think movie theaters themselves, they sort of have a problem. They're going to end up, I think, in the future being like the art theaters are now, right? They're going to be smaller, less screens, but there's going to be a very dedicated clientele who go to them, and it's going to be almost like, well, you're in New York, so that kind of doesn't count. But for the rest of us, if you go to a play somewhere, that's kind of like a special event. And maybe you would go once a year, maybe twice a year. I think that's what the movies are going to be like for most people. And you already kind of see it because they took out like the stadium seats that we had when we were younger, and now you got Barco loungers.
Right? Yeah, I'm in danger of falling asleep in a movie theater. They really come and they heated. Oh my god, man!
Yeah.
And they got like burgers and stuff too at my movie theater. I mean, I'm not going to pay $45 for a burger, but the
Yeah.
option, like sell wine, sell beer at a movie theater too. Why
Yeah.
not?
For the adults.
I was thinking like, if I daydream a lot. I'm a daydreamer, like most comic book people. I'm a daydreamer, but like, I don't know if you're married, but me and my wife, we talk about what to do with the lottery. You win the lottery. Everybody's had that daydream, and
Yeah.
after the bills are paid, and your family hits you up for money, whatever. If it's big enough, like I would like to make like John's cool hobby place, and
Yeah.
I sell comic books, we play board games, we sell board games, and there's a movie theater, and not only that, there's also a restaurant. So like
Cafe.
Yeah, like a cafe. We got burgers, we got breakfast, we got eggs. Once in a while, we'll make like a nice dinner. And when we watch the movie, everybody could order their dinners, sit down. One of my employees will be the waitress or waiter and bring around all the food as we're eating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's
Well,
or if you back my comic book, if I hit the stretch goal of $600,000, that'll be my stretch.
Well, when I lived in Los Angeles, there's a little town called Burbank where a lot of the movie studios are out of.
Johnny Carson is
And
from Burbank, California.
yeah, and we had my friends and I went to a gaming cafe there where you go in, and as long as you buy food, they had shelves and shelves full of games, board games, tabletop role playing games, anything you could think of. As long as you paid the money for like food and drinks, and there was a minimum, you could take whatever off the shelves. So that's what I don't understand. Like, why don't you could make a business out of that? You get companies to go on newsprint again, so these things are cheap. People could go in and read them like a library as long as they're buying drinks, which is where you make your money. And then if they like them, then you have higher quality on special paper with, extra sketches or a letter from the writer, or something like that. Like there's all sorts of ways to make this stuff more attractive and more popular. To me, one of the big problems is, not only the issue of not, normies don't want to go to comic book stores if they're not reading comics. It's, I think you have to allow people to see a lot of this stuff for free. I want to hold it. I want to look through it and be like, okay, that's worth the money or it's not, as well as wanting to see like, okay, well, is this just going to be the only issue, or are there like, 10 issues I can sink my teeth into?
First off, Joe Kaufman just said he just backed me. Thank you.
Oh,
thank you. So
thanks a lot, Joe.
Just check it because you'll see when you run a campaign, Mr. Kaufman. As soon as somebody backs you, you check it. It's just
Yes.
Pavlovian response. But thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please, you will not regret it. I love this comic. You're gonna like it so much. I can't stop talking about it. But yeah, comic books. First off, comic book stores have a bad reputation. We have that like the snarky comic book guy for a reason. Most of the comic book stores like arose because the guy was a comic book fan and didn't want to get a real job, or what I mean. So it's like literally like a haven for Arrested Development, and then they get clicky. And when I worked at a comic book store, I gotta say, when I first started, I was just as bad as the snarkiest comic book guy. And then I started to realize I'm a jerk, and I kind of went and the store owner, to his credit, and after, like, I was his first employee or second employee. His first employee was the worst. And somebody said, "You're just like Joe." That was the name of the first, not Joe Kaufman. Joe Kaufman was awesome, but Joe, the first employee, said, "You're just like Joe." And I was like, "Oh my God!" And that was like the wake up call. So I went out of my way to be as pleasant to everybody as possible. And that's what comic book stores need to do. The charm offensive, change that flickering light bulb. Vacuum and steam that carpet, or better yet, tear out that carpet, make some nice, make it look good. Women don't want to go into a dirty old stinky old thing. Get all the boxes off the back issues, make it look nice, organize it, put the prices on each comic so you don't pull up the comic book at the register, then the guy looks through the Overstreet guide for 20 minutes, and then you find out it's money, and then you leave. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. It's a comic book. It's been sitting in that box for 40 years. Nobody bought it yet. Sell it for $2. $2 now. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Things like that. Yeah. And then they got to start. I hate this term, but I can't think. You got to start thinking outside the box. Comic book movies are all the rage right now. Call up the movie theaters. Get some promotions. Get a Superman movie poster from the movie theater. Put it in front of your store and say Superman comic books here. Put those Atari Force comics that you've been holding on to for 40 years. Give them away. A kid comes in the store, here you go, kid, here's a comic book. You know what I mean? Things like that.
Yeah, and the other, like, why not do promotions? Like, do buy 3 Superman comics, get a free small popcorn or something. Like, you can arrange like free small popcorn at a specific theater. There's no reason you can't do business with this stuff. Same thing. Go over there. Hey, if you buy 4 tickets to Superman, you get a free comic at such and such comic store.
I would even go as far as say, like, if you're a comic book store, you got to make a website and have. I like forums and message boards. Let's talk about the new issue of Geiger. You know what I mean? And now we're all talking about Geiger, get some interest, and let's talk about the new issue of Wonder Woman. I like Absolute Batman. Okay. We talk about it, just make it like a community. I hate that word, but like, you got to do stuff. You got to make it as well. Yeah. And anybody new comes into the comic book store, you're just like, "Hey, how you doing? Can I help you? What are you interested in?" Oh, okay. But sometimes that backfires. People think you're being too pushy or whatever, but like, acknowledge the people, be pleasant, have games, play Magic the Gathering. There's some awesome superhero. If you're Marvel, DC, play up Marvel United, set up a Marvel United game night, and teach people things like that. There's so much you could do to make people want to come to your store. Sure. I know it's easier said than done, but yeah,
and why not tournaments with prizes? Get a free whatever omnibus or something like that.
How like comic book trivia night?
I got a question for you. Let's say a comic book store said, "John's Long Box, I am interested in your Heroic Tales series. I want you to do, like, for lack of a better term, a Zoom call with my store, and I'm going to have people in, like you would with a signing, but I don't have any money to bring you in. So we're going to have like a Zoom call where you're a monitor and there's going to be people in chairs." And
that would be fun.
Okay, so it's not just me, because I said this to a comic pro once who you knew, and they looked as though they were absolutely disgusted with the thought. And I was just wondering, like, am I off base here?
No, well, I don't know which pro you're talking about, but they're probably doing okay and don't need to do that.
I'll let you know later.
I'm doing less than 300 copies of my comic book. I'll do your Zoom call. You got guys on death row. Do they got money in their commissary to buy a comic book? I'll do a Zoom call on death row.
Yep.
Marvel Rivals. Yep. Literally everyone's playing Marvel Rivals. Well, Marvel United is a little miniature game that I have over here. I love it. But Marvel Rivals is a computer game. I don't know computer games. I like things that I could touch and manipulate with my hands. It's why I like comic books over digital files. I know the youngins are into their video games and their Yu-Gi-Ohs and their Pokemons, but I'm a tactical, old-fashioned analog board gamer, comic book guy.
So so when you're writing, let's say, all ages or books that are aimed at a bit of a younger audience, how do we get them into things that we liked as a kid? So, for example, you were mentioning, all the violence and darkness, certainly that was in books in the 80s, and even before that. Even if you go back as far as Grimm's fairy tales, those were super dark. How do we get kids interested in a world that's been sanitized, where words can be violence and things like that? How do we get them? Like, I think there's always like a forbidden fruit temptation for that kind of
first
thing.
off, that words have violence, all that stuff. They are the absolute minority, but they have the loudest voice. So they are, they don't have any power. And we can see as the sales are tanking, like Sydney Sweeney comes out, all she does is look great in a pair of jeans. Everybody's freaking out, but they're not really everybody. It's just the loudest, craziest voices. So freaking out. Those jeans is flying off the shelves. What are they called? American Eagle jeans? They're going through the roof. So first off, don't listen to those people. Second off, you brought up Grimm's fairy tales. They're horrible. Mm-hmm. Kids getting lit on fire, witches eating children, and kids love them. Kids love them. And they sing all those nursery rhymes of like mothers killing their own kids and putting them into pies and all of this stuff. They love that. I remember the Ed Gories were super popular. And it's about children being poisoned. Kids love horror. They love horror. They love monsters. They love monster movies. So what do? Make good, fun stories. We don't listen to all of these nags. We don't listen to all these righteous busybodies. Just do stories. Supergirl in her skirt looking, because girls like beautiful women too, and make strong, heroic, there's reasons why, like Roll in the Night was the 12th century, and King Arthur before that, and we were always telling stories of the knights slaying dragons. We just go back to the way things used to be. Don't pander. Make exciting stories. I mean, look what they did to Star Wars. They sanitized it. It's boring and it's dull. No, does anybody believe like Rey was in ever any danger? No. And I don't know. It's just go back to what worked for literally thousands of years. And it's funny because I'm working on a story called The Origin of Santa Claus. And what it is it's going to be a historical biography of a legendary person, St. Nicholas. So, of course, I'm going to take some of the legends and put them as history. So it's going to be as close to a biography of St. Nicholas in a comic book format as told by Odin, who's desperate to escape his fate in Ragnarok. So people like, is it going to be all ages? And my response was, is the Bible all ages? You know what I mean? Like,
there's a lot of dark stuff in there too.
This is, if you read the life of St. Nicholas, it's not all ages. Why? Because there's murder, there's death, there's a father who's going to sell his daughters into prostitution. If I'm going to tell a biography of St. Nicholas, but I want kids to read it. There's going to be Odin. Odin is going to refer to, because there's a scene, I don't want to give spoilers away, but there's a scene where he's talking to Frigga, Freya, and Sif, and he says, "My wife, my lover, my daughter," like to each one of them. How do you explain that to kids? Is that for kids? No, but kids get it. Things are different, and if kids don't get it, then parents explain what's going on. This is a pagan god who has different values, but it's not there's going to be the Fenris wolf devouring Odin with entrails. You know what I mean? But it's again, read. I'm trying to think of like read any nursery rhyme, and so kids can deal with it. Kids like to be scared in a safe environment. Now, I'm sure if you're a kid that grew up in an abusive house, you don't want to read a scary story. But you're a well-loved kid. Your mom and dad are over there. You know, you're reading. You know, I'm trying to think of these scary stories like that you grew up reading. You know, that's fun. It's, you know, how many. I mean, I remember a little kid just watching, like, you put the blanket over your face, you watch through one eye, and you filter the fear and the horror. You know, I used to watch Twilight Zone. You know, I don't know about you, but that Talkie Tina episode with Telly Savalas is the scariest damn thing I've ever seen in my life, and I loved it. How many kids talk about early Doctor Who? They used to say you watch Doctor Who from behind the couch. You know what I mean? Like, because kids were hiding. Kids like to be scared. There's nothing wrong with it.
Nope. Oh, okay. I'm hearing myself when I talk.
I'm not hearing anything. Am I coming through fine?
No. How's the audio, guys? Oh, now it's okay. I don't know.
How's
it was
the video? Because somebody just told me that my last video was blurry. I'm wondering if it was hit. Yeah, the outer limits. Oh man, do you remember the original Star Trek, the episode with Jack the Ripper? Red Jack, Red Jack, Red Jack.
Oh yeah.
My God, did that freak me out as a kid, and I loved it. You know, like you were like, I hope it's not the Red Jack. Oh, good, it's the Red Jack episode. You know what I mean? Like we like to be scared, and nowadays we're protecting kids. You know, I don't know about you. I was Generation Z. Like, my mother would be like, get out of the house.
Yeah. No, if the street lights were on, don't come back.
Just get out of the house. Avoid pedophiles. Get out of the house. You know, that was the only advice we had until we were 25. You know.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, ironically, by making everything safe for kids, kids don't want to read it. And ironically, making everything for women aren't interested in it.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I think some of what needs to happen is, again, showing my age, if people remember what radio used to be like when you had a DJ, and that DJ would curate a playlist, right? And sometimes they'd have songs that were popular, but a lot of times it was whatever that DJ thought was cool. They would have their own. And then a couple hours later, you would have another DJ and there would be a different playlist. And I think that that's kind of what we need in stories, you know, like we need one voice, even if you're not necessarily the author or the artist, even if like, let's say you were to hire other people to write some stories in your series later on, you would still have to be there with guidelines and sort of set the parameters of, you know, what those stories would be like to make sure that they fit in with your universe.
Yeah. We are doing this spiral. We made comic books expensive, safe for kids, and we alienated people. And some people left because they were getting too expensive. Some people left because they just didn't have that adventure spirit anymore. So then we raised the price to compensate for the people that left. And then we said, okay, we got to sanitize them. And now it's like, it's just like circling this black hole faster and faster and faster. We fundamentally need to change. Like Marvel and DC, the clean house. Chris Claremont's still able to write. You know, look at the graybeards over at Comicsgate. These guys are still super talented. Why not get Graham Nolan again? Get Chuck Dixon. You know, get all of these guys to we don't need to go out and recruit people who never read comic books. Like I can't think of her name, but the woman who wrote
Ironheart.
Yeah, her, Eve Ewing. Or the other one that wrote America Chavez. She wrote a young adult.
Yeah.
She never read comic books. So let's give her a job. Meanwhile, me and you have been reading comic books for 40 years. Like there was a point where if they said, hey, let's John, you want to write comics? Yes. I would have quit my job and started writing. Now I don't even want to deal with Marvel or DC. I don't want to, you know, it. Unless they were just like, okay, John, you're the editor-in-chief of all Marvel comics. You have carte blanche to fix them because I have an idea to fix them. Then I would do it. That because I feel loyal to Marvel. You know, I spent so many years reading their comics. It's like watching a friend bleed out. And I'm at the point now, I'm like, well, you did this to yourself, buddy. How many times are
Oh, John is freezing up. We'll wait for a second for him to come back. Hey, if you're
they going to
watching
warn
on,
you? How many? I told you not to date that
are you
girl.
back?
Now you got to deal with it.
Oh,
but like
freezing up there, John.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Am I back?
Yep, you're back. You're back.
So I was saying, unless I could fix everything, I don't want to have anything to do with Marvel or DC. Sorry, I can't. I don't know what happened. Everything froze for a second.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, and it seems like all the resources could be in place. Like, if you're if you're Marvel or DC, why don't you make a contract with the Kubert School and have like comic book artist boot camp and have people who want to go into comics, who maybe show some promise, but they're not there yet. Put them through that school, and you could do the same thing on the side. Like why Chris Claremont should be running tutorials.
Gabby Rivera. Thank you. That's the woman's name.
Thank you.
The problem with that is you got to pay for that. And
yeah,
Marvel literally, I think they said something like they're paying $200 a page for their comics. Yeah. Guys, I sell 300 copies. I spend more than $200 a page.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So like, how could I be spending more per page than Marvel at this point? So they're not going to put people through. But you know what? They don't have to. There is a plethora of talented comic book fans, writers, artists that will jump at the chance, that don't need training. They're ready to go right now, but Marvel doesn't want them. That's the problem. The problem is the head of the serpent. They got to cut the head of the serpent off, and everything flows from there. They don't want to. I'm starting to hear that Disney is starting to have regrets, and they're starting to realize they made mistakes. I don't know how much that is true. So maybe we're turning a corner, and and Marvel Comics being a tiny little mote of dust in the Disney empire, maybe it'll take a long time. But they got to get rid of CB Cebulski. They got to get rid of Tom Brevoort. And the joke that I've been saying for years is Matt Barrow was on my channel, and we were talking about this very thing. And I was just saying, okay, I'm working for Marvel. You sit down in front of me and you're like, oh, I want to draw Marvel. I want to write for Marvel. My first question is, show me a comic collection. And you're like, what? Show me a picture. Oh, here's my Comixology. No, I want to see a picture of your comic book. I want to see bagged and boarded or stacks of long boxes thrown all over the house. That's what I want to see. Oh, you can't do it? Okay, what's your first comic book? Well, no. Everybody remembers their first comic. We remember our first girlfriend. We remember our first car. We remember our first comic book. And I could pontificate about Fantastic Four 187 all day long. Until you tell me to stop. If you can't immediately recall your first comic book, you ain't a comic book. You don't have what it takes. And then I'm just gonna barrage you with obscure comic book trivia. And if you can't answer those questions, that's it. That's your job interview. Everything else, I think you could learn to write if you show me that love. Yeah. Yeah.
And even I'm not 100% against people who have never written a comic doing something, but it should be like a D story in an annual.
Right.
And then you do that. Okay, maybe we have to train you. Maybe we have to pair you up with like a veteran editor to get the best work out of you. And then, you can take the steps. Okay, well, then you're going to do a B story.
Why would I waste time on that guy when there's literally 700 other people that are ready to write Fantastic Four #1? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Yeah, well, then come back when you really want to write comic books. Do you have a love?
Yeah.
Why? I don't know if I want to act. So why would I put you in my movie? You know what I mean? Like, you got to have a love of acting. It's not like, you just need a job. You know what I mean? Like I understand, like sometimes you just need a job. So it's like, okay, I work like that. Me, I never had a love of being a construction worker. I wanted to write comic books on my, but the construction worker job fell on my lap, and now I take it. I like my job. I'm grateful for it, but it's, but like acting, working at comic books, being an author, like, I don't know. I don't want to. Why? I just gonna write a book. I don't know. Do I really want to write a book? I don't want to read that book. Comic books are like niche hobby stuff. It's like you got to have like this burning desire to do it, and there really is an endless supply of those people. But we're literally avoiding them. Well, not we, but Marvel and DC are literally avoiding them. Like, again, Gabby Rivera didn't read comics, and when her little heyday was done, she started doing tours in college, and she was making fun of comics. She was like, like, she was embarrassed. She goes, America Chavez. She had the power to punch through dimensions, and like her crowd of like these angry feminists, they would giggle, and she's like, yeah, I know, I didn't make up the character. Like, she was embarrassed. Why are you writing the comic book then? You give me Iron Man. I'm not embarrassed by Iron Man. Man, I'm going to tell you what I think is the coolest.
Oh no, we're losing him again. Okay, so anybody's watching on X, why don't you come over to YouTube?
Iron Man story
YouTube at Yang Yan Zhao.
But I'm not going to change it.
We've got a great chat over here. And John's back. Okay.
Yeah, as I was saying, like, I'm not going to turn Iron Man into a socialist. He's a venture capitalist. And he's not going to give up his lady wooing ways. You know what I mean? Like, that's Iron Man. If you don't like that, well, we got other comics for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or maybe comics isn't for you, but you don't have to write comic books. But there you go. You got to have
speaking of comics that are for you.
There you go.
There we go. Heroic Tales 2. So it looks like 4 days left on Kickstarter, and you have already done the one on Fund My Comics, which you are 100% funded. So I assume anybody who backs here on Kickstarter, you will for sure get your book because it's funded.
I put $500 because that was the minimum, because it already funded on Fund My Comic. I'm still live on Fund My Comic. That is my main platform. But I did okay on Kickstarter, so I figured, got to make the extra money. $500 is a lot of money to a small guy like me. Indiegogo, I didn't like, but now that GameFound bought it, I'll give them another try with my next campaign. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But you're gonna get the comic. The comic is. I keep getting distracted because my colorist is sending me. I told him it's got to be done by this weekend, so he's sending me things to approve right now as we're talking. So the comic is pretty much done. Once it's lettered, once I get all the colors by Sunday, I re-go through the script, and it takes about a week to letter it, and then we just, the editor just makes sure there's no typos, and we go to print. So that I hope to ship, and I hope to ship in September. If it's the last day of September, that's acceptable to me. So, so it will happen. You're gonna get this. You're gonna get a couple of stretch goal cards. I like to make cards for all the main characters, and I feel I need to explain this, but I put role-playing character sheets on the back. So if you see this, where are we? So it's backwards, but this game.
Oh, it's upside down, I think.
I know. I can't. It's not. So it's Villains Vigilantes. It's backwards just because of the nature of but it has a character sheet. This is what the character sheet looks like. So a couple of people didn't understand the cards. So I'm trying to go out of my way to explain. So you're going to get the cards. If you so choose to buy the Villains Vigilantes game, which I have nothing to do with other than I love the game, you could literally play my characters in that because you have their character sheets. So that's what it looks like. Do people still hand letter their comics? No. I hired Bill Williams, and he uses a software program. I mean, people don't hand paint anymore. And Renzo sometimes draws, like some pages I'll ask him to draw on paper because I want to buy those pages. And most of the time he uses his digital pad. So hand lettering is by way of the dinosaur. And Bill does it really quick, but it'll be lettered in less than a week. And then it's just check for typos, send it to print. But anyway,
Yeah.
this is Heroic Tales. Each issue is 2 stories, 2 complete stories. In the crowdfunding field, we can't be monthly. Not yet anyway, maybe someday. But so I feel it's a big ask to make you wait a year, 9 months, 5 years, whatever in between. So you get this, you're going to get a complete story. You're going to get 2 complete stories. And that's the way Heroic Tales is going to be, 2 complete stories every issue. This is the Patriarch. He was my breakout character. Everybody seems to like the Patriarch. He is a loving father, a devoted husband, beloved superhero. He's everything positive about masculinity. I got really tired of this trend of making fathers look like the goofballs and like, I can't open up the soup, honey. And the kid's like, Dad, and then the wife goes, you could do it. I don't care what Dad says. No, he's not a tyrant. He's the best thing. He's loving. He's like I said, he loves his wife. He wants to spend time with his kids. He wants to spend time with his wife and family. They live on a farm. They homeschool. They homestead because there's supervillains in the world. There's a whole backstory that I'm slowly introducing, so I don't want to spoil it. But there's a reason why the family is away from the city. He patrols Science City. There's something wrong with Science City, and that's a major part of the of the story. Is Science City was built wrong, and it's built over. You'll see the subterranean lives below Science City. He goes below. A kid gets abducted. The Patriarch goes below Science City, meets the subterranean, and then finds out there's even worse things. The subterranean is a monster, but this monster holds back other monsters. I told you, my comic book is superheroes meets Lovecraft meets Dungeons and Dragons, and the subterranean story really drives that home. Literally, he wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons with his kids, but a kid got abducted, and this Patriarch's a good guy. So that's that story. If you scroll the next character, it's funny because people seem to have a visceral reaction to Mary Sue. This is Mary Sue. I wanted to make this character because the Scarlet Witch is one of my favorite Marvel comics, but they don't do her correctly. The Scarlet Witch isn't this all-powerful being. The Scarlet Witch is supposed to be, she could give you good luck, she could give you bad luck, and that's it. Now she could rewrite realities and stuff like that. So I kind of wanted to make an answer to the Scarlet Witch, and then I was like, everybody's going to call her a Mary Sue, so I cut you off of the chase. I named her Mary Sue. So this is the perfect girl, gets the ultimate power, and then finds out being perfect ain't all it cracked up to be. She does something in this story. This is her origin. So at the beginning of the story, she doesn't have powers. At the end of the story, she has powers. During the story, she does something that she doesn't realize. And it's a complete story. So, but the next issue, she's going to realize the consequences of her actions. What may be good is not necessarily good. And that's all I really want to say. I don't want to spoil it. A few people read it, didn't get what happened. A few people instantly got it. So I don't know if I successful or not, but just read it and pay attention that she did something. And I also don't want to spoil it. That's Philip Manning. That's another, that's like the Lex Luthor. He's the bad businessman. He hires her to discover the secret of superpowers. She knows she's being hired to understand superpowers, but she doesn't know that he's an evil supervillain who wants the superpowers for himself. I mean, if you're Lex Luthor, you don't want to hire people to beat up Superman. You want to beat up Superman. So that's what this is. Yes, Harrowberg, yes, her powers, she can affect probabilities for good or for evil. Well, for good. But she's not, it's like the butterfly effect. If she changes this possibility, could she really foresee all the other possibilities? And you'll see what happens. She does something major in this particular issue, and on surface it seems like the greatest thing, but issue 3 you'll see that it while it was good, it had some unforeseen circumstances. So she is quite possibly the most overpowered character I'll ever make up, who doesn't want to use her powers. And there you go. So that's all I'm going to say with it, because I'll spoil it if I keep on talking. And I look at this art and coloring. This is Oscar's coloring. It's so good. Daniel De La Silva colors the patriarch. Oscar colors everything else. And then these are the variant covers. This is Jose Garcia. This is the Subterranean. The Subterranean, since he lives underground, he's covered in mushrooms. And when the patriarch punches him, those mushrooms break into hallucinogenic spores.
Nice.
So, there you go. And then this is Mary Sue, drawn by Josh Howard.
Josh Howard, yeah.
He draws the cutest girls in the world. So, of course, I had to have him draw a Mary Sue cover. And then
he's like the new Tim Bruce.
Yeah, yeah. And then this is Martina Mokota. I sent her a T-shirt, just like, hey, if I get a hot to show off my T-shirt, maybe I'll sell T-shirts. So this was my advertisement for the T-shirt. Everybody says you got to make a cover of that. So she posed like Mary Sue, and now I got a cosplay cover. I didn't mean to; it just happened. And then, of course, of that, I had to make a patriarch cosplay cover. So that's my buddy Crenshaw. Those T-shirts are for sale. You can buy them. Oh, and I need to explain this. Every comic has two covers. It's a flip book. So the patriarch story, you read it, and then you're going to get to Mary Sue, and it's going to be upside down. You flip the cover over. There you go. So every comic book, I think it's kind of cheesy to put out 4 different covers and expect people to buy the same insides with just a different cover. So, but I also couldn't decide who's the main character, Mary Sue or patriarch. I love them both. So they're both on the cover. When you bag them, board them, you could decide which one is showing, or better yet, buy 2 copies. There you go. That's probably, yeah. And that's the way I'm going to do with Heroic Tales going forward. Is I'm going to make it 2 stories, 2 covers, and this is the interior.
All ages.
Yeah, like I said, if somebody said, "Oh, but look at that, it's sexy," I'm like, "Have you read 80s comics?" I always bring up. Do you remember the scene of Starfire and Dick Grayson? This one is a little too much for me. I'm going to put some word balloons, little tasteful word balloons over some of the bits. And this is the interior art. Look at this color. Look at that. It's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. That's the patriarch's wife. As you can see, she's got scars. I told you there's reasons why the family lives on the farm. And then there you see there's so you see she's covered in scars, but the patriarch don't care. She's still the most beautiful, desirable woman in the world to him. He loves his wife. I hate that trope of the evil Superman and and he's telling his wife, "I'm taking the day off." Even Superman gets to take the day off, and she's like, "Oh, good. I'll tell the kids we're dying to play Dungeons and Dragons. I'll make breakfast. After breakfast, we'll go." So she goes, "Let me just go take a shower." And then he turns on the TV, and the news is like, "Where's the patriarch? This kid fell down a sinkhole." And he's just like, and she's not a nag. She understands there's a kid's life at stake. They're a loving family, and it's tough to be a superhero.
For me, there's I really detest Invincible. It's too self-indulgent. He's crying. His dad doesn't like him. Meanwhile, he can fly anywhere he wants and this and that. And, I don't get enough time with my girlfriend. But this to me seems more realistic. It's she's like, okay, yeah, I know you have to do it. And I'm sure she's disappointed that he's missing Dungeons and Dragons Day. But it's it's a much more realistic thing, because there's no way she would be with him for this long if that were to bother her, you know?
My next campaign is going to be Patriarch #1, and it's going to be his origin. And it's literally Science City is throwing the 25th anniversary of the Patriarch. So he's been the Patriarch for 25 years. So, so, you're going to see him without the beard, without the gray, not as muscular, because he's, a rookie superhero kind of thing. Her before the injuries. They've been married for 25 years. He's been the patriarch, they were married for only a few months before he became the patriarch. She's used to it by now. She understands, and she's a good person too. She's not like, "Oh, why are you going to save that kid?" It's a kid. It's a kid's life at stake. She understands. And when he comes home, like the last issue, it was the name of the story was Father's Day. He's trying to come home for Father's Day. They're making a cake for Father's Day, but there's meteors, there's monsters attacking and all this stuff. And when he finally comes home, she greets him at the door with a kiss and goes, "Let me get my kit." because he's all covered in blood and bruises. That's what it is. They're a family, and all families. He has 7 kids, and the son, he comes home with an elk, and the son goes, "I'll take care of this, Dad." It was funny because people are like, "Why did you show him hunting?" I'm like, because he's a hunter. He does everything, man. He's he swooped down and he grabbed an elk, broke its neck, and then the son starts skinning it. And people are like, "Why'd you do that?" Because that's what happens when you live outside of New York and LA.
Yeah.
And it's funny because some people are like, you should have showed more of the hunting and fishing and stuff. I don't. There's only so much you could put in a comic, but that's what he's a normal, basically rural guy, but he has the ability to fly to the city and fight crime. And like I said, there's a problem with Science City. Like I keep thinking like Gotham City. How come Gotham City has a guy dresses up like a clown and a guy dresses up like a penguin and a woman who dresses up like but not Baltimore?
Yeah.
So what's wrong with Gotham City? So I like the idea that there's something wrong with the city. So that
makes sense.
There's something wrong with Science City. And the fact that there's monsters that live below it is part of it. There's like I said, I if I talk too much, I'll spoil. But there's reasons why Science City drives people crazy.
So speaking of books, so I was getting slightly confused because this is Heroic Tales #2, which is your second book, but then you're working on the St. Nicholas book. You're working on the Patriarch 1. There's a Heroic Tale 3. And I could have sworn
Eddie is Doomed.
Oh, Eddie is Doomed. And then there was I saw you showing art for sorry, I forgot the character's name, the Kung Fu master guy.
King Fu.
Yes. So how many books are you working on right now?
Right now I'm working on 4 books.
Wow.
So Patriarch #1 is going to be my next crowdfund. Actually, I'm working on this. My character is going to be in somebody else's comic. It's only 12 pages. We're almost done with it already.
Oh, nice.
So that once we get that done, we're gonna go full steam ahead on Patriarch #1. That's gonna be my next crowdfund. After that, I want to do Heroic Tales 3. But the problem is, Patriarch #1 is all Renzo. It's all Patriarch, so it's all Renzo with a couple of other 1-page other people. Then Heroic Tales 2, it's the Raven who's and Renzo wants to draw the Raven. He wants to do a Batman story. So he wants to draw, but it's also part 2 to Mary Sue. And I'm very anal retentive. Renzo drew Mary Sue. He's got to stick with Mary Sue. He wants to draw the Patriarch, and I got to keep and I mean, he wants to draw Raven. So that's going to be, but I also have a bunch of other artists working on other characters. I have Marcus Kellegrew working on a character called The Public Eye. I have Fabrizio Aiello working on you're gonna laugh at this title, but the memoirs of Violet McCready. How's that?
No, that sounds like a book he'd work on.
Yeah, that's why I thought of that. I have Stippling Vaughn is working on The Printer's Devil. DC Miller is working on Bikini Girl. Tonic Mole and Oscar Creno are working on Eddie is Doomed. So I could do Eddie is Doomed because Renzo isn't doing the art for that. Tonic Mole is all caught up with his comic, Saving the World, which is a great comic book. Go to Kickstarter right now. He has a secondary book called On Call Heroes. I highly recommend this, but he's all caught up now. So now he's going to focus on Eddie is Doomed. So we could do that. And then I have the Santa Claus stuff, but Renzo and Oscar are doing that. So that's after the Patriarch. But I have all of these other guys, so we could still do Heroic Tales while Renzo and Oscar are focusing on the Santa Claus book. So I'm hoping at one point I might even have Eddie is Doomed and the Santa Claus book, maybe launching around the same time. I'll do 2 campaigns if it's different books, but I'm not going to do Heroic Tales 3 and then before I deliver it, do a campaign. I think I'm earning the trust of people. So I want to do 1 campaign at a time, but if it's a whole other team and I could juggle both, maybe I'll do 2, but who knows? We'll worry about that when it's time to worry about that. But and just today, I solicited a story to Brian Bow, and he loves the idea. So I'm going to type up a script for that. I really want to spoil the name. you want an exclusive?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Brian Bao is probably going to work on Fright Nurse.
Okay, I can see that.
Fright Nurse is a Frankenstein type monster that works in Umbra City. And Umbra City is in Maine. It's a city because of a wizard's curse. It never knows sunlight, so monsters go there. So Fright Nurse works at the trauma clinic for monsters that are injured. So that's right up Brian Bao's Fright Nurse. He was like, yes, that sounds like someone. So she's going to be a sexy Frankenstein monster in a nurse's outfit, taking care of, ghouls and ghasts and things like that.
So you've got like 1 billion books in the works. How many do you think you could realistically put out per year?
My first comic, Heroic Tales, shipped in November. So this comic, I'm hoping to ship in September. So that was 2 comics in 1 year, not the calendar year, but an actual year.
Yeah.
So I would, but that was because Renzo, I want to work with Renzo. He's so talented and he's so good. And I like to be consistent. So this year he was working with a whole bunch of other guys. He filled up all his commitments with other people, and he told me like I'm his number 1 guy. So we are amping up production. I couldn't tell him stop working on that guy stuff. Work up my, you know what I mean? Like
yeah, of course
you can't do that. So but now I also got a whole bunch of other people, but I also told them to work at their own schedule. So the next couple stories, as they come in, I could put them in Heroic Tales. So I could theoretically have a Heroic Tales with no Renzo in it, because the art is going to be really good. And I kind of want like Luke Stone is doing the Sleeper Agent. I always want Luke Stone to do the Sleeper Agent. I always want Marcus to do the Public Eye. I got like 20 Public Eye stories. The only exception is Ron Mosicki, who did my Suit story. Mm-hmm. I gave him a Raven story because he is so suited for like dark violence. So it's the best thing I ever wrote. So it's so good. It's so good. And so I got to but the thing is, Renzo's Raven story has to be first, because his story already references stuff that happened already. So I told Ron, even if you've done first, it's going to be sat on until it's ready to come out. So that's what I'm hoping to do. If I'm working with a bunch of different artists, maybe I could do 2, maybe even 3 comics. Mm-hmm. Well, I could do 2 comics a year with Renzo. I'm hoping maybe I could do 3, maybe 4 comics a year. A lot of work.
Yeah. Wow.
But, that's what I'm hoping. So
that's interesting.
If you don't buy it, then I do no comics per year.
Everybody should definitely back this. Whether you want to do it here on Kickstarter, which, by the way, the link is in the description on YouTube and also pinned at the top of the chat. I believe I dropped it in the X video window, and I will be putting it on Rumble later. So you have no excuse not to find this book.
Yeah, Harrenberg, you're going to love Fright Nurse. He likes sexy chicks. You also, I'm still saying this, but I'm not. You're going to like Heroic Tales number 4. It's that everybody loves the patriarch, but everybody is going to love the character that I'm going to introduce, and it's a secret. And yes, I'm teasing because I'm a jerk. The character that I'm introducing, and Harrenberg, it's a little clue. You're really going to like the character that I'm introducing in issue 4. So that'll tease the gender of the character.
And speaking of sexy women, have you ever seen the videos that Harrenberg puts out?
Yeah, he gave me a thumb drive of
those are
the
awesome.
They're a lot of fun. I told him I want to drive out to Pittsburgh to be a villain and get beat up. Not like one of these fetish guys. Because I'm obviously not going to be a female superhero. So what's left? I'm sure he has the Commissioner Gordon character down pat, and I can't commit to that. But I can commit up to a thug who tries to break into a bank and gets beat up by Savannah or one of his cool characters.
Yeah, he sent me a thumb drive a few years ago. I was trying to get him on, but it never worked out right before I moved. But oh my God, those videos are so good. It reminds me of sometimes back in like the 90s, you'd find like a basic cable station where like somebody was really dreaming big and like they were just going for it on basic cable budget. And that's what it reminds me of. The stories are so good. Um,
I used to love that. Growing up, you'd switch the channel to
Yeah.
UHF. Like here, this is an old fart story, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, grab yourself a chair. But back when you had the radial dial and you actually had to turn, one of the channels was called UHF, and you went to UHF, and then there was another dial underneath that went from like channel 14 to 68, and you static, click, static, click, static, click, boom, and there was some guy talking about conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh wow, and then click, there's a naked lady. What did I'm 14 years old. Like, did anybody just, you call up your friend, go to channel 52, there's a naked lady, go. And then you click, and there's like a 40s like Flash Gordon serial. I used to love that. Oh man, UHF. It was, you never knew what you were gonna get, and I think it was like a state law. Like one of them had to be local access.
Yes.
So it was like local freaks talking about like whatever, like local talk shows. Like, hey, that's the guy that owns the paint store. I say like, let's go on the comic book store. Let's get a public access. That's another thing we were talking about comic book stores. Why don't they all have YouTube channels? And and do
why aren't they doing weekly reviews? Hey, these are the new books that came out this week.
But I love all that stuff. That's back to Harrenberg. If this was the 80s, we'd be switching through UHF and back. Why is there supervillains beating up people? I'm watching this, and now it's on the web, the World Wide Web.
Yeah. Well, hopefully I'll get them on one of these days.
Harrenberg was one of the first people to ever come on my channel. So I
like the books too. They're I
got all of the issues. I got all four. He comes out with like one a year.
Yeah, and the thing I really like about it is, so I first read it as probably like 21 or 22, and that was like right in the middle of like the SJW, Girl Power, Lady Thor, trying to push Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. And the thing about the Harrenberg books was that it was just a bunch of women being awesome. Like, you didn't need to be told that they were awesome because they're women. They just did awesome things.
Right. Show us. Don't tell us that they're awesome.
They beat up criminals.
I mean, I've been told that Kamala Khan is the greatest character ever, but not one person could ever refer to her definitive story. Like, name a character, and they'll like, oh yeah, the Fantastic Four. Well, which one? When they defeated Galactus, when they fought Doctor Doom for the first time, when this happened, when they went to the negative zone. Kamala Khan. Oh, she's awesome. She's my favorite character. What's your favorite story? She's awesome. She's my favorite, Daredevil. Oh yeah, when he fought, when Elektra assassin died, or the Kingpin took away everything, and he became a short order cook, and or that one issue story where he had the drink in the bar. You could go on and on and on. That's my point. But nobody ever tells you the awesome Kamala Khan story.
Yep. But well, I know you have a colorist to get back to and proofs to view. So once again, Heroic Tales #2 over on Kickstarter. Link in the description or at the top of the chat here on YouTube. Should be in X, and it will be in the description on Rumble. So go check it out. John, anything else we should know, or?
It's going to be 4 more days on Kickstarter, but it's still live now, and it will continuously be live on Fund My Comic. Fund My Comic. It's a platform. It's all comics. It's made by comic book fans for comic book fans. Whereas Kickstarter is, comic books are just one grain of sand in the beach. Fund My Comic is comic book fans. So that is going to be my home. But I'm a small businessman. I got to go. I got to go out. So I did pretty good on Kickstarter last time.
Nice.
So, but anyway, so I will always be at Fund My Comic until the next campaign launches. Then I close this down, and that'll be the current. So I'll always have a store open on Fund My Comic.
Very
There
nice.
you go. You get stretch goal cards. Right now, everybody's going to get a Mary Sue card, Subterranean card, and a King Fu card. And the door's open. If every $1,000 now, I'll unlock another card. And I got plenty of cards to make.
Very cool.
So there you go.
So if you like horror tabletop role-playing games, go check out www.empireoftheundyingsun.com. We got best American style horror campaign guide going up on Kickstarter in October. You go to that site, you can click onto the mailing list, or you can join to be a VIP and get one extra adventure module, a poster, and colored tokens for all of the enemies and characters in the game.
Act now, and you get the Death to All Bards adventure.
I should make that. I do have an STD table specifically for the bards to roll on. But
I just want, I would love to run a campaign, and the guy's like, oh, there's a whatever, an ogress. I tried to seduce her. Okay, go up to. So I go up, and then the ogress just rips his head off.
Roll for crushed pelvis.
Eight bards.
So this weekend, the Nerd Council of Doom assembles again. We have a ton of different topics. We've got self-publishing. We've got D&D crochet book. We've got all sorts of different things. I think we are also going to talk about credit card companies and why the hell can they tell us what we can and can't buy?
So are you going to talk about crocheting in D&D now?
There was a book that just came out. Now it's a licensed properly, but a lot of people are sort of freaking out about it, that it's like the worst thing ever. I don't really understand what the big deal is. It's not like they put the product out. Somebody just licensed it, They had Underoos at one point. What's the difference? So that is YouTube at the Nerd Council of Doom. That'll be Saturday at 3:00. And about an hour and a half from now at 11:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Pacific, I will be on Patty's Parlor over on Rumble. We'll be talking Empire of the Undying Sun horror in tabletop role-playing games. And apparently the benefits of your head being aerodynamically cranially aerodynamic. So anyone who's gonna be up, come join us over on Patty's Parlor. So
cool.
Thanks for coming, everyone, and we'll see you back again soon.
$100,000 stretch goal is Yang is one of the people who comes to my house, and we spend all weekend role-playing games. I will force feed everybody to eat White Castles, Funyuns, sodas, chili, and we will role play it. You'll make up who's your big character. I guess you'll be the Undying Sun. We'll make.
No, I would be probably the Master Thaumaturgist and Grand Magus, Thaddeus Ignatus Macari.
There you go. So,
but my friends call me Tim.
Tim. He's an enchanter. So that's I joke. That's the $100,000 stretch goal. As I fly everybody here, and the funny thing is, every time I say that, my wife, she's like, "I hope you make it to 999,000." Introverts unite.
All right. Good night.